To go where angels might fear to tread, it appears from the research that you so eloquently wrap up in this book that there's a difference between boys and girls, that boys are, in fact, more likely than girls to suffer separation anxiety. Their cortisone levels are likely to rise. They become more anxious even than little girls. So they're different.
Well, we know that more little boys are born in the world and more little girls survive. And the reason for that is that boys are fragile physically and emotionally, much more fragile. We also know that there are higher levels of autism in boys. And the research now that's being studied is that autism has a great deal to do with cortisol in utero, that even a fetus in utero is susceptible to cortisol. And little boys are much more susceptible than little girls. That doesn't mean little girls aren't susceptible to stress. But yeah, boys tend to have a stronger, more vigilant reaction to stress than little girls. And we also see it in the aggression. So, what we call the fight or flight response to stress is basically an evolutionary response that human beings have to stress, right? When we faced a predator, a tiger, saber-toothed tiger, we either fought that tiger or we ran. And what we're seeing in children really is with this uptick of mental health issues is an increase in ADHD diagnoses, as well as an increase in aggression and behavioral problems. And those are the two sides of the coin. We have little boys who are becoming more aggressive at an earlier age. In fact, one of the studies on daycare showed that children who were put into many hours of daycare very early in their lives showed greater increases in aggressive behavior. And boys show more aggressive behavior than girls. Girls show more depressive symptoms than boys. They are different, and their responses to stress are different. And we're seeing this rash of ADHD and just children being, I mean, in America, I've written many articles in the Wall Street Journal and spoken out about the over-medication of children, that society does not want to ask the hard questions. Why are these children distracted? And people want to label it as a disorder in and of itself when it is a reaction to stress. So ADHD, distractibility, is the flight part of fight or flight. And so no one wants to ask, what is causing the stress for these children? Because that's a very hard question and no one really wants to hear the answer. That's why I wrote the book.
This is a hard one, isn't it? We don't want to hear answers that might confront us with our own failings and the need to change. It strikes me that some people listening to this, they might think, gosh, Eric is describing my children. Can I ask a question? Because it's related to some of the things we've already talked about, the importance of, if you like, completing the building of the computer early on while you've got the opportunity. What happens if you get past that 3 or 4 years that you're talking about, you recognize the damage? Can you go back and somehow correct it? And I'm thinking partly of the experiences with the Romanian orphans, in the orphanages, and they just couldn't put their emotional lives, they couldn't be put back together, to put it crudely. So much damage had been done.
Well, Charles Nelson at Harvard wrote that book, and that was a powerful sort of expose on what happens to children who are in extreme emotional poverty, meaning who are extremely neglected. The truth is that neglect is on a spectrum, but the kind of neglect that I write about is different than the Romanian orphans, but it is still very potent and powerful. There are some forms of neglect that cannot be repaired. And I say that to parents, that there are instances where you will not be able to repair everything that your child has suffered. But I think, and my second book talks about, you do have with children another chance, not maybe with children who are severely neglected as the Romanian orphanages, but most children are not in that situation. Most children have parents who love them, work hard, put them in daycare, don't spend as much time as they probably should, are more distracted when they're around them, are not that interested in as you say, the development of the child. Those children suffer in a different way. And for those children, yes, you can repair some of that. You may not be able to repair all of it. You have another critical window of development, which is 9 to 25, which is what my second book is about. So my first one was about the first critical window of development. The second book is about the second critical window of development, where you have the ability to repair some of what happened earlier on and really, maybe not completely, but create a foundation of emotional security for your adolescent young adult going forward. After 25, all bets are off. You've lost your influence over that child.
Thank you for watching this episode. If you value vital conversations like this one, please like, share, subscribe, and join the conversation.